7-year-old Lucy Carter walked into Big Mike's auto shop, carrying a shoebox and tears streaming down her face. The little girl approached the biggest, scariest-looking biker in the shop and made an impossible request. "I need 100 Hell's Angels to come to my dog's funeral. Nobody else will come. He was my best friend and he deserves a real goodbye." The bikers looked at each other, these hardened men suddenly faced with a heartbroken child holding a shoebox coffin. They agreed immediately. What they didn't know was that the dog inside wasn't dead, and the funeral they were planning would turn into something far more dangerous. Michael Big Mike Sullivan was 53 years old and president of the Iron Shields chapter of the Hells Angels when Lucy Carter walked into his auto shop on a Thursday afternoon at 3:45. Big Mike owned the shop legitimately, a successful business built over 20 years that employed 12 mechanics, half of them club members. The shop had a reputation for honest work and fair prices, and it sat on the edge of a working-class neighborhood where everyone knew the bikers but nobody feared them. Lucy was 7 years old, small for her age, with dark hair and pigtails and a flowered dress that was too big for her thin frame. She clutched a Nike shoebox wrapped in duct tape, holding it against her chest like it contained something precious. Tears streamed down her face, leaving clean trails through dirt on her cheeks. She walked straight past the front desk, into the garage bay where Big Mike was working under a Chevy Silverado, and tapped his leg. Big Mike rolled out from under the truck on his mechanic's creeper and looked up at this tiny girl standing above him. "You need help, sweetheart?" he asked gently, his voice softening automatically. Lucy nodded, unable to speak through her sobs. Big Mike stood, wiping grease from his hands, and knelt down to her level. "What's wrong? Talk to me." Lucy's words came out in gasps between crying. "My dog died. Buster. He was my best friend. We were going to have a funeral, but nobody will come. My mom has to work. My teacher said she's busy. The neighbor lady said it's just a dog and doesn't matter. But he does matter. He mattered to me. And I heard that Hell's Angels help people. So I need 100 Hell's Angels to come to Buster's funeral. Please. He deserves people who care." Big Mike felt something crack in his chest. This kid had walked into a motorcycle club shop, alone and crying, asking strangers to attend her dog's funeral because nobody else would come. The courage that took. The desperation. The heartbreak. Big Mike looked at the shoebox Lucy was clutching. "Is Buster in there?" Lucy nodded. "I put him in my nicest box, the one from my birthday shoes, because he was special." Big Mike called over his shoulder. "Brothers, we got a situation." 11 men stopped working and gathered around. Big Mike explained. "Lucy here needs 100 Hell's Angels to attend her dog Buster's funeral. Nobody else will come. She needs family. We doing this?" The response was immediate and unanimous. "Hell yeah, we're doing this. When's the funeral, little one?" Big Mike asked Lucy. She looked up with hope breaking through her tears. "Can we do it tomorrow? Friday after school? I want to bury him in my backyard before the weekend." He liked the backyard. Big Mike nodded solemnly. "Tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Give me your address." Lucy recited her address, a house 6 blocks from the shop in the same neighborhood. Big Mike wrote it down. "We'll be there. 100 Hell's Angels. Full funeral honors. Flags, flowers. Everything. Buster's going to have the send-off he deserves." Lucy threw her arms around Big Mike's neck. "Thank you. Thank you so much. You're the nicest, scary people I ever met." After Lucy left, still clutching her shoebox, Big Mike made calls. He contacted 3 other chapters within 50 miles. Explained the situation. A 7-year-old girl needed help honoring her best friend. Could they spare members for a dog funeral? The response from every chapter was the same. "We'll be there." By that evening, 97 Hell's Angels had committed to attending. Close enough to 100. Big Mike also did something else. He visited Lucy's house that evening to speak with her mother. The address led to a small, run-down rental house with peeling paint and an overgrown yard. A woman in her early 30s answered the door, exhausted and weary. "I'm Big Mike from the auto shop. Your daughter came to see me today about her dog." The woman, Amanda Carter, immediately looked embarrassed and defensive. "I'm so sorry. Lucy shouldn't have bothered you. She's taking Buster's death really hard, and I told her we couldn't afford a funeral or anything fancy, and she just ran off and I didn't know where she went," and Big Mike raised a hand gently. "She didn't bother us. She asked for help. We're giving it. Tomorrow at 4, 100 Hell's Angels are coming here to give Buster a proper funeral. Full honors. We're doing this for Lucy because she deserves to say goodbye properly. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to do that. He was just a dog. Big Mike's voice was firm. He wasn't just a dog to Lucy. And that means he matters. We'll be here tomorrow. Just wanted to let you know so you're not surprised when 100 motorcycles show up. Friday at 3:30, the Hell's Angels began arriving. Motorcycles lined the street, filling every available space for 2 blocks. 97 bikers in full colors, leather vests covered in patches, representing 4 chapters. They brought flowers, small American flags, a tiny handmade wooden casket that one member had built overnight specifically for this funeral. They transformed Lucy's overgrown backyard into a memorial site, clearing space, arranging flowers, setting up the small casket on a table draped with black cloth. Lucy arrived home from school at 3:50 and stopped dead when she saw the street filled with motorcycles. Her mother stood beside her. They came, Lucy whispered in awe. They all came. She ran into the backyard and froze again, seeing 97 massive men in leather standing in formation, waiting for her. Big Mike stepped forward. Lucy, we're here to honor Buster. Ready to say goodbye? The funeral was beautiful and absurd and perfect. Big Mike gave a eulogy about loyalty and friendship and how the measure of a life isn't its length but its impact. Several other bikers spoke about their own childhood pets and what they had meant. Lucy placed the shoebox carefully into the wooden casket, tears streaming down her face but smiling because her friend was being honored properly. The bikers saluted as they closed the casket lid. Lucy's mother stood crying, overwhelmed by this outpouring of kindness for her daughter and a dog she had thought nobody cared about. As they prepared to lower the small casket into the grave Big Mike had dug, one of the younger bikers, a man called Wrench who worked as a veterinary technician, noticed something. He was standing close to the casket and heard a sound, a very faint sound. Wait, Wrench said sharply. Everyone froze. Wrench put his ear near the casket. There's something moving in there. Big Mike carefully opened the casket lid. Inside the shoebox, beneath tissue paper Lucy had carefully arranged, Buster lay motionless. But Wrench was right. The dog's chest was moving, barely. Shallow breaths. He's not dead, Wrench said urgently. He's sedated, heavily sedated, but he's alive. Lucy screamed and tried to grab the box. Buster! Buster, wake up! Wrench carefully lifted the small dog from the shoebox. Buster was a terrier mix, maybe 10 pounds, with a collar that had a small medical chip attached. Wrench examined the chip. This is a veterinary tracker. Recent. Within the last year. Lucy, did Buster go to the vet recently? Lucy shook her head. We can't afford the vet. He's never been. Wrench's expression darkened. Then someone else put this on him. And someone else drugged him. This wasn't natural. This was intentional. Big Mike's instincts immediately went on alert. Lucy, where did you find Buster yesterday? Lucy's voice was small and scared. In the backyard. He was just lying there. I thought he was sleeping, but then he wouldn't wake up and he was so cold and I thought he was dead. So I put him in the box and I was so sad, and Big Mike interrupted gently. Did anything else happen yesterday? Anyone come to your house? Lucy thought. Mom wasn't home. She works late. But I saw Mr. Dawson from next door in our yard. He said he was checking our fence. But then he left really fast when he saw me. Big Mike and Wrench exchanged looks. Who's Mr. Dawson? Amanda stepped forward, her face pale. Robert Dawson. Lives 2 houses down. He's been asking me out for months. I keep saying no. He got angry last week and said I'd regret rejecting him. Big Mike's jaw tightened. Wrench, can you save the dog? Wrench nodded. I need to get him to my clinic immediately. Flush his system, run blood work. But yeah, he should recover. Big Mike turned to 6 of his brothers. Take Wrench and the dog to the clinic. Stay with them. Protect them. Then he turned to the remaining 90 bikers. Brothers, change of plans. This wasn't a natural death. Someone poisoned this little girl's dog. And I'm guessing it wasn't just cruelty. I'm guessing it was distraction or preparation for something worse. We're staying here tonight. Full watch. If anyone comes near this house, we have a conversation with them. Amanda protested. You don't need to do that. I'm sure it was just Big Mike's. Voice was firm but kind. Ma'am, with respect, someone drugged your daughter's dog and put a tracking chip on him. That's not random cruelty. That's surveillance and planning. Something's wrong here. We're staying until we figure out what. Lucy, still crying but now crying with relief that Buster was alive, looked up at Big Mike. You're going to save him? You're going to keep us safe? Big Mike knelt down and looked her in the eyes. That's a promise, little one. Nobody hurts you or your family. Not while we're here. The Hells Angels set up watch rotations. 20 bikers visible in the front yard and street, making it clear the property was protected. The rest positioned strategically around the property, hidden but ready. They looked like they were just hanging out, having a party, but every man was alert and watching. Amanda brought out food and drinks, grateful and overwhelmed. I don't understand why you're doing this, she told Big Mike. We're strangers. You don't owe us anything. Big Mike smiled slightly. Your daughter walked into my shop and asked for help. That means we owe her everything. That's how this works. At 11:40 that night, 3 men approached the house from the back alley. They moved quietly, wearing dark clothes, carrying tools designed for breaking and entering. They had planned this for 2 weeks. Drug the dog to eliminate the alarm system. Wait for the mother to be exhausted and asleep. Enter through the back door. Steal everything valuable. Maybe hurt the mother for rejecting Robert Dawson's advances. Maybe worse. But when they climbed the fence into the backyard, they found themselves surrounded by 20 Hells Angels who had been waiting in the darkness. The 3 men froze. One tried to run. A biker blocked his path. The second reached for a weapon. 2 bikers disarmed him in seconds. The third, Robert Dawson, tried to talk his way out. We were just checking on Amanda, making sure she was okay. Big Mike stepped forward, his massive frame illuminating in the porch light Amanda had just turned on. You drugged a little girl's dog. You put a tracker on him to monitor the house. You planned to rob this family. Maybe hurt them. Maybe worse. And you thought you'd get away with it because they're vulnerable and alone. But they're not alone anymore. They've got family now. Us. Robert tried to maintain his false respectability. You can't prove anything. This is harassment. I'll call the police. Big Mike smiled coldly. Please do. Call them. Explain why you're in this backyard at midnight with burglary tools. Explain the veterinary tracking chip on the dog that matches equipment from your security company. Yeah, we figured out you work in security systems. Easy access to tracking tech. Explain all that to the cops. We'll wait. Robert's bravado collapsed. He had been so careful, so patient. But he hadn't accounted for a little girl walking into a biker shop and asking for help. Hadn't accounted for 100 Hells Angels deciding to protect a family he had targeted as easy victims. The police arrived within 10 minutes, called by Amanda. Robert Dawson and his 2 accomplices were arrested for attempted burglary, animal cruelty, stalking, and criminal conspiracy. The tracking chip on Buster's collar was evidence. The drugs in Buster's system were evidence. The tools they carried were evidence. The case was airtight. At the veterinary clinic, Wrench worked through the night to save Buster. The sedatives in his system were industrial strength, designed to knock out the dog for hours so the burglary could proceed without alarm. But Wrench flushed his system, provided IV fluids and supportive care. And by morning, Buster was awake, weak but alive. Lucy was brought to the clinic at 7 in the morning and reunited with her dog. The little girl sobbed with joy, holding Buster carefully while he licked her face weakly. You're alive. You're alive. My angels saved you. The story made local news. 7-year-old girl asks Hells Angels for help with dog funeral. Bikers discover poisoning plot and thwart home invasion. The narrative was irresistible to media. Tough bikers with hearts of gold, saving a little girl and her dog from criminals. The Iron Shields chapter suddenly found themselves local celebrities. Interviewed on TV, praised by community members who had always viewed them with suspicion and fear. Big Mike hated the attention but accepted it because it helped Lucy. The story raised awareness about her family's situation. Donations poured in, enough to cover medical bills for Buster. Enough to help Amanda pay rent for 6 months while she found better employment. Enough to provide Lucy with new clothes and school supplies. The community that had ignored this struggling family suddenly wanted to help, motivated by a story that proved even the most vulnerable people could find protection if they were brave enough to ask. 3 months after the funeral that wasn't, Lucy invited the Hells Angels to a celebration. Buster had fully recovered and was back to being the energetic, protective dog he had always been. Lucy wanted to thank the bikers properly. 97 Hell's Angels returned to Lucy's house, which Amanda and Lucy had cleaned and decorated with homemade thank you signs. Lucy stood on a chair so everyone could see her and delivered a speech she had practiced. When Buster died, I thought I lost everything. My best friend, the only one who protected me when I was scared. But then I remembered that angels help people. So I went to find angels. And I found you. You're scary-looking angels with motorcycles and tattoos. But you're still angels. You saved Buster. You saved me and my mom. You showed me that family isn't just people who live with you. It's people who show up when you need them. Thank you for being my angels. The bikers, these hardened men who had seen violence and loss and pain, stood, with tears in their eyes, listening to a 7-year-old explain what they meant to her. Big Mike knelt down and hugged Lucy. You saved yourself, kiddo. You were brave enough to ask for help. That takes courage. We just showed up. You did the hard part. Lucy smiled. Can we be family? For real? Forever? Big Mike looked at Amanda, who nodded with tears streaming down her face. Forever, Big Mike confirmed. You're Iron Shield's family now. That means we're always here. Always. Over the following years, the Iron Shield's chapter remained involved in Lucy's life. They attended her school events. They helped Amanda with home repairs. They provided mentorship and protection and support. Lucy grew up knowing that the scariest-looking people in her neighborhood were also the safest. That appearances could be deceiving. That kindness came in unexpected forms. And that sometimes angels wore leather vests and rode motorcycles. When Lucy was 12, she wrote an essay for school about the most important day of her life. She wrote about the funeral that wasn't a funeral, about the dog that wasn't dead, about the bikers who weren't scary once you knew them, about learning that family was whoever showed up when you needed them most. Her teacher submitted the essay to a state competition. Lucy won first place. The prize was a scholarship fund for college. Big Mike and 20 Iron Shields members attended the award ceremony, proud and emotional, watching this little girl who had once walked into a garage carrying a shoebox transform into a confident young woman ready to change the world. When Lucy was 17 and preparing to leave for college, she visited Big Mike's shop one last time before departing. She wanted to thank him again. For everything. For seeing a crying 7-year-old and choosing to help instead of dismiss. For organizing a funeral for a dog that turned into saving a family. For being the father figure she needed when her own father had abandoned them years before she was born. You changed my life, Lucy told him. You taught me that protection comes from unexpected places. That kindness doesn't look how you expect. That asking for help is strength, not weakness. I'm going to be a social worker because of you. Because you showed me what helping people actually looks like. Big Mike pulled her into a hug. You're going to be amazing. Help a lot of people. Save a lot of families. And remember, we're always here if you need anything. Lucy nodded, crying but smiling. I know. You're my angels. My scary, tattooed, motorcycle-riding angels. But angels anyway. She paused. Buster's getting old. He's 12 now. When he does die for real someday, will you come to his funeral? Big Mike smiled. All 100 of us. I promise. Buster lived to be 14. When he finally passed peacefully in his sleep, Lucy was 19 and home from college for the summer. She called Big Mike immediately. He's gone. For real this time. Big Mike's voice was gentle. We'll be there. When do you want to do this? Lucy thought about the first funeral, the one that had saved her life. Saturday, 2 o'clock, same backyard, full honors. Because he earned it. This time for real. Big Mike agreed. This time for real. 100 Hell's Angels attended Buster's actual funeral. Lucy was 19 now, not 7. But she felt the same gratitude and love as she stood in her backyard, surrounded by the family she had found a dozen years ago. Big Mike gave the eulogy. Buster protected Lucy for 14 years. He was a good dog who lived a full life and was loved deeply. We're here today not just to honor him but to honor what he represented. The connection between a girl and her dog that brought all of us together. That taught us what family means. That showed us we're capable of more kindness than we thought. Buster didn't just protect Lucy. He brought us all into her life. And that's a legacy worth celebrating. They buried Buster in the same spot where they had almost buried him 12 years earlier. The grave marker read, Buster, best friend, protector, the dog who lived twice, Because angels arrived. Lucy placed flowers on the grave and spoke to Big Mike quietly. Thank you for coming. Again. For being here when it mattered. Every time it mattered. Big Mike put his arm around her shoulders. That's what family does. We show up. Always. Michael Big Mike Sullivan rode with the Hells Angels for 35 years. He built a successful business. He earned respect from his community. But his proudest moment was the day a 7-year-old girl walked into his shop crying and asked for help. Because saying yes to that request led to saving a family, stopping criminals, and proving that the most dangerous-looking people can be the most protective. Lucy had called them angels. And maybe she was right. Maybe angels did wear leather and ride motorcycles and show up when a little girl needed 100 of them to honor her best friend. Maybe heroism looked like organizing a funeral for a dog that turned into breaking a burglary ring and providing years of protection for a vulnerable family. Maybe kindness meant seeing a crying child with a shoebox and choosing to take her seriously when everyone else had dismissed her. That's what Big Mike learned. That sometimes the smallest requests lead to the biggest impacts. That saying yes when someone asks for help can save lives. And that angels come in all forms, including 100-man motorcycle convoys showing up to a dog funeral that became so much more. If this story about unexpected heroism, chosen family, and the courage to ask for help moved you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories that prove appearances. Deceive and kindness comes from unexpected sources. Drop a like if you believe the bravest thing you can do is ask for help when you need it. Here's your question for the comments. Would you have the courage to walk into a room full of strangers and ask for help like Lucy did? Or does vulnerability feel too dangerous? Let's talk about what it takes to ask for help in the comments below. See you in the next story.